Welcome back to the channel, everyone. And I pose this question to everybody. Why is the film Malignant so polarizing to film fans right now? For me personally, I found this film to be extremely enjoyable. About an hour and 40 minutes, and I enjoyed every single minute of this film. Again, directed by James Wan. His return basically to horror. But really, it's a horror, but it's not supernatural. And I think that might be the reason why people are having such a hard time with this film. It's not The Conjuring. It's not Insidious. But it's still an excellent film that is definitely, it's unique in certain ways. Certain things have been done before, but for the most part, there are some unique things that are thrown into this film. We have the main lead actress, Annabelle Wallis, who plays the lead of Madison. Now, I'm going to try not to go into any spoilers because the last half hour of this film is freaking nuts. And it's great. It's really, really good. It definitely makes everything else build up, all the build up to it, that much more worth it. Now, she plays, Madison. And I've heard some people say that she's not really likable. Well, I don't know there's not a lot of characters that are in this film that are likable. But her sister is, I do enjoy the actress who I can't think of her name right now, who plays her sister, Sydney. I think she was the most likable character in this film. For me, she was definitely the one character I did not want to see anything happen to in the film. She definitely, she drew me into what she was, portraying on screen. But you definitely do feel for, feel for Annabelle Wallis's character, Madison. But again, it's a touchy film because you don't want to go in, you don't want to spoil anything for anybody. Because, again, it's James Wan. Are there going to be some twists? Yeah, there's going to be some twists and turns. But let's go back for a second. Let's go back and just talk about the supernatural element. Like I said, this is not any, for myself personally, when I first saw the trailer for Malignant, I felt, okay, this is going to be supernatural. It's not going to be, I knew this is not going to be The Conjuring. This is not going to be Insidious. I knew that especially with The Conjuring. I love The Conjuring films, the first two films. The third one I do too, but not directed by James Wan. But so it's definitely a step down. But for me personally, I think that's something that a lot of people are going to have a hard time wrapping their head, their brains around. Is the fact that this is not a supernatural film, and it's not. This is not The Conjuring. But what it does pretty well. And for some people, I think, again, it's going to be, I keep going back to it, where the trailer made you think it's going to be one thing, but it's absolutely not. This is getting away from any kind of sport. I'm just going to say it right now. This is a slasher film. This is a slasher film, hands down. But it's not, it's done in a different kind of way than you've seen other slasher films. But this film, for me, like I said, 8 out of 10. I would definitely, and I know, I might get some hate for this one, but for me, I would definitely put this below The Conjuring, below Aquaman, but definitely in my top 4 for James Wan films. Because it was just, I had fun with it. And I think that's the main thing. I get it. Some people who, I've heard some people who just, again, the characters aren't likable. You're not pulling for them. I've heard some people who you'd say, right at the beginning of the film, it's not really too much of a spoiler because it does happen within maybe like the first 15 minutes. You get the Madison character played by Annabelle Wallis. She's pregnant, and she has an abusive. She's in an abusive relationship. And something that happens to her early on because of this abusive relationship it leads us in a direction of why it's a starting point for why things happen in this film. And I've heard some people say, oh, I've been there. I've been there, done that with the whole abusive relationship thing in these films. But you have to understand, you need to get to that point of the film. You need to see that at the beginning of this film in order to reach the peak of what's going to happen. You need to see that. That's the catalyst for everything that's going. That's it. That's the word I'm trying to think of, everybody. Catalyst, because that's exactly what it is. That beginning, I get it. You know, some people don't want to see that in films, and I understand that. But it's the catalyst to what is going to happen throughout the rest of this film. It's definitely it's the igniting point, the ignition, basically. You know, you're starting a car. That's exactly what what this whole setup is. It's basically it's leading us down that road to get to where we have to be. And I enjoyed it. The cinematography, and this, without even getting with the story, more with the story, the cinematography. If this film, and somebody let me know in the comments, because I looked this up and I tried to find this out. This has to be running at 60 frames per second. 4K, 60 frames per second. Saw through HBO Max because it is, you can see it in theaters as well. But the cinematography and the way James Wan shot this is just off the chain. It's ridiculous. My mouth was just my mouth is just hanging wide open watching this. With some certain scenes, it's breathtaking. It absolutely is breathtaking. You know, I've heard some people, because of, there are some lighting, effects that are used, like the red lighting. It definitely has like an Italian horror feel to it. And it does feel like that. I've heard the comparison to that. I wouldn't say exactly like that, but I definitely get why people are saying that. But the story, if you see the trailer, they mention Gabriel. Now, Gabriel, basically, that's our antagonist. That's the main baddie. But how he's done in the film is great. I love it. The way when you see Gabriel on screen, especially like in running scenes, pay close attention. I did not notice this right away, but my friend at work who saw this as well, he's like, I noticed that, is this character doing this particular thing? So pay attention to how the character runs. If you pay attention to how the character runs, you might be able to figure out where, just by a simple thing of watching how they run, you might be able to figure out exactly where they're going to go down the line in this film. We have some, have two cops that are involved with the film as well. They're investigating these murders. And like I said, it's a slasher. It absolutely is a slasher film. I wouldn't even say it does not. To me, it's not supernatural. It's not a supernatural film. But I don't want to say any more than that. 8 out of 10 for me. It's a top 4 James Wan film for me. And I know some people are going to say, what about Insidious? What about Dead Silence? What about Saw? What about he was actually helped out in one of the Fast and Furious films as well. But I'm going to say right now, one of the reasons why I don't count it as far as with his involvement with with Saw, because I'm not really into those kind of films. I've never seen any of the Saw films, and that kind of like the torture films like that, like Hostel and Saw, they're not really that's not my wheelhouse. It's not my cup of tea. That's why I'm kind of like I'm not counting that. For the films that I've seen of James Wan, this is definitely a top right up there, right below Aquaman. And again, I think it's enjoyable. I really do. The cinematography it's worth watching it just for that. The way there's a if you've seen the trailer, there's one particular clip that they show in the trailer where we show Annabelle Wallis like running through her house, running up the stairs, running through all these rooms, but it's shot overhead. And it's almost like the house is like open at the top where you can actually see everything, see down. And it's shot so well. I loved it. I cannot wait for this film to come out in 4K. It is a day one purchase for me, hands down, no hesitation. I loved it. I can't really go into, I really don't want to go into any more of the story because, like I said, that last 25 minutes to half hour is just, it's balls to the wall. It's nuts. It is absolutely crazy. And, my cousin was watching this the other day as well, and he's like, I don't know, because at the end of the day, he wasn't feeling it. He even told me, he's like, I didn't feel the film. I didn't really care for it. And my friend at work who saw it as well, I was just mentioning, he said it was okay. It was good. It wasn't great, wasn't bad. It was right there down the middle. And I get where people are coming from. You have to. It's an acquired taste for this film. It's not going to be everybody's thing. And for me, it was my thing. I absolutely, I enjoyed it. But like I was going back on my cousin saying how even though he wasn't feeling the film, even at the end, even he had to agree. The cinematography was freaking amazing. And James Wan really outdid himself with how this is shot. It definitely, I loved it. Right from the opening scene, showing this like huge castle almost, but it's like I want to say like an insane asylum, but it's kind of like it's because basically it's supposed to take place like in the 90s from what I see, but some things are a little bit off. So you might, whether or not it really isn't, I don't know, but it's just I enjoyed it. It doesn't matter what time period it takes place. I really enjoyed *Malignant*. It took me a little while, it took me about a week to finally get a chance to see it between, watching other things. But I'm glad I finally had a chance to sit down and watch it. And, and even then, there was already at the point where I had heard mixed things about it. But I still wanted to see it and make my own opinion. And I really enjoy it. I see where I see where people are coming from with their opinion. But for me, I really enjoyed it, and it's a day one purchase. And if you have HBO Max, definitely check it out. If you if you want to go check out the theaters, I'd recommend that too, because I think the way it's shot, it's definitely worth checking out. Either way. So that's *Malignant*, and I loved it. It's 8 out of 10 for me. And yeah, what more can I say? Like, subscribe, and comment if you get the chance, and I'll catch you in another episode. Take care.